Thermal Sound Wave. It is Thermal Sound Waves, a natural alternative to fast food radio. We here, C.Truth, Kev Lawrence. Right about now, you know what we do. We bring a guest into the house. We let you know about someone who's on the rise and that you should pay attention to. Yep, that's right. And joining us, we got somebody from down in the southeast. We're going to get to know him and find out some more about him. Of course, we rock his joints here on the program, so you should be familiar with his tunes. But now let's get familiar with the brother himself. He goes by the name of Soulrac here with us on the program. What's going on with you?
What's good, man? Appreciate the love, Thermal Sound Waves putting it down for the underground, man. Salute to you, C.Truth and Kev Lawrence, man, for putting me on and playing the music.
No question. Absolutely. So for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about Soulrac and where you representing from.
All right. Well, Soulrac, born and raised in Orlando, Florida. That's right, Florida. And, my hip-hop story started when I was 14, listening to hip-hop songs like The Message and just really being immersed through it from my uncle who was older than me. And then being Orlando, being a melting pot, you had a lot of people that was from up north that moved here and they stayed here and they affected the culture. And I happen to be a recipient of that culture, which is reflected in my music. And so as a result of all of that, that shaped who I am as an artist. But Soulrac, ideally, is about speaking from the soul. It's about making music that moves the culture forward by giving message-driven songs, writing message-driven songs and songs that shape the minds of those who listen to it.
Absolutely. And we had another artist on here by the name of Polo Baby Flaco, who's also from the Orlando area, and he was speaking about his experiences, in the area as well. And, a lot of people don't know about Orlando. They know about, Disney. They know about, the magic and all that. But they don't know about Orlando, the city, where your people live and, things going on down there in the community down there. Tell us about your experience living in Orlando from someone who grew up there.
Well, I mean, some of Orlando is just like any other city. I mean, like you said before, most people know us for our national landmarks, which is Disney, Universal Studios, and all of that. But there's an undercurrent in Orlando, just like anywhere where you deal with poverty or you deal with people who have left. You're going to have people there's going to be an underground. There's going to be people who going to live, the street life and all of those things that goes on in any major city, just on a smaller scale. But the good thing about Orlando, what I love, is that there's so much culture, there's so much diversity with the culture, because you have the people that are from up north, you have people from the Midwest, you also have people that's from Puerto Rico. All of that is combined, and then on top of that, you have a culture where you have economically, you have people who are well-to-do, living high off the hog, when you have those who struggle. I come from that group. And so the thing is that Orlando provided a lot of opportunities for people, but there are those who got skipped over. I speak for those people. But what I will say is that one thing I loved about Orlando was the fact that the relationships I built, some of them are still intact today. I lost some friends along the way due to the streets and things like that. But ultimately, the culture itself is still alive and kicking, and it's kicking through me as an artist.
Absolutely. It's Thermal Sound Waves, a natural alternative. We hear C.Truth, Kev Lawrence talking to artist Soulrac here with us on the program. Your music, has a lot of tense and vivid messages and views and things like that. And pictures that are painted. And what are some of the things that you experienced that have directly influenced some of those things that you speak about?
Well, personally, I would say, I'll talk about one that's impersonal, but, it kind of affects me directly. One was Trayvon Martin. He was in Sanford, which is not too far from where I lived in Sanford at one time. I never crossed paths with him, but I understand some of the struggles that he experienced, unfortunately, with, George Zimmerman, where you do have that, prejudice that exists, where you are prejudged based on how you look versus your character or content of your character. But, I grew up in Orlando. I had the benefit of being on both sides. I mean, I had the upbringing of my grandma, who was a church-going lady, so I had that aspect of my life. And then I also had my friends who were in the streets. I dabbled a little bit in it myself. Didn't really get fully immersed in it, but enough to understand the direction behind it. But it also motivated me to speak positively, because I understand what those what those choices can do for you. Most of my friends have been locked up. Again, like I mentioned earlier, some of them died, and they didn't get a chance to experience life like I'm doing. They didn't have a chance to raise a family. They didn't have a chance to do music or pursue it the way I'm doing it. So those were lessons that I learned being in that environment and some of the friends that I had, and then on top of that, there were things that you experience even from the parental side, where I grew up without a father, is incarcerated since I was young and still is. So all of those things shape who I am, and they motivate the writing that I do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what else are some of the things that influences your art as a whole, outside of just those experiences that you spoke about?
Well, what influences the art is that, I felt, I'm a type of person that I'm very observant, and I analyze things. Sometimes they get me in trouble, but I'm an over analytical person. So I analyze things. And so when I see things happening and nobody's saying nothing, I feel like that becomes my responsibility. And so seeing injustice happening, seeing people who are marginalized, and then on top of that, I'm seeing how the hip hop culture changed, where we were at one time conscious, and then now we glamorize luxury labels, we glamorize, luxury vehicles. Not that I'm mad about anyone getting a bag or getting capitalism, but it's just a lot of people a lot of things are not being spoken about. And so that's what kind of influenced me. Just my upbringing as a whole influenced me. Just the life experiences that I have all contributed to my thought process and built the bridge that I use, which is rap, to express those feelings or thoughts.
Let's get to your current single right now, Welcome to America. Very, very strong piece, strong record. We've been spinning up here for a minute. You got Craig G on there, the legend.
Of course.
Omar Lunan, he's from Canada, is that right?
Yeah, he's from Canada. And Merciless, who produced the track, also from Canada.
Okay, yeah. So first off, how did you connect with the collaborators on there, like Craig and Omar and Merciless?
Yeah, well, it all started. Well, Craig, I had Craig G. I had a relationship with him because we did a track called Belly of the Beast, which he was featured on that track, and we kept an ongoing dialogue since then. So from that, we kept the dialogue, but then I also met Merciless through a mutual friend in France who connected me with him. And so he and I got together and we liked each other's vibe, and we decided to work on the EP, which is soon to be released. And so as we were working on the track, he gave me the Welcome to America track, You Now Know. And the track was so dope. And I was like, and then the hook came to my mind and I wrote it down. And then I was like, yo, this is be dope and we can get somebody to sing the hook. And so Merciless reached out to Omar Lunan, and he laced the track the way he did. And then I did my verse, and then I thought about Craig G. I was like, yo, we did Belly of the Beast. We did a dope track together. I want to see what he can do on this. So I reached out to him. He laced it with his verse, and we have What You Got Now. And then, of course, Merciless did the final touches with the scratching at the end.
Right. What significance does the record have to you, especially today, currently, in what's happening and what's going on?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Well, I think one of the significance it has is that it challenges the idea of what America is, because conceptually we like to promote that we are liberators when we go to other countries. We like to promote that if you come here, you'll have a better life. You'll experience some level of freedom. But the actuality is different. I mean, when you look on the streets, you see that families are being separated by ICE. You're seeing that our civil liberties are being taken away, our voting rights, and so many other things that supposed to be some form of expression of freedom are being taken away. And then the idea of the title, Welcome to America, is that we have the Statue of Liberty, we have the American flag. So many of those are symbolisms of hospitality, meaning that we're welcoming you here. But the reality is, or the irony is that that's not the lived experience for most Americans who are living who are living within the poverty line, who are not experiencing the wealth that other people are. That it's not the 1% is benefiting, but it's not being trickled down. People are deciding between, like Craig G say, they renting their food. And how can you say that you're for rights? How can you say that you're for the people and by the people when you're leaving out the people?
Absolutely. What were some of the valuable experiences that you gained from going to Valencia College?
What I gained from that was that it gave me, I gave me diversity. And anytime you're in an environment where it's considered, and I'll use this term loosely, higher learning, anytime you're learning something and you're remaining teachable, you're always going to become educated and you're going to grow as a person, whether you use that information or not. Information can always be powerful. But just being on the campground with people who want to educate themselves, people who want to better themselves, whether they're pursuing a 4-year or a 2-year degree, just having that experience and exposure is always a good thing, because I feel like when you're around people who are like-minded or people who are seeking higher education, it's always going to challenge you to a certain point, whether you use that information or not.
Right. And what was your choice to study, your field of study?
It was business administration. That's what it was. In a way, I feel like I should have went into philosophy, because that's what really draws my attention now. But it's always good to know business, because, I have an entrepreneur spirit anyway. That's always been in my DNA. It runs through my veins, through my family. But having that experience and that exposure was good. But I also like philosophy because it always deals with the way we think or how we view the world.
Gotcha. So, I always say, as artists, you definitely need to know the business. You gotta know that. So that was a wise choice to do that there. Who are some of the philosophers that you enjoy or kind of, look at their work a lot?
I like Machiavelli, obviously, in a sense. I would say he's a philosopher, but he may not have per se. I see Chuck D as a philosopher.
Yes.
In a way. I do. I think he's not considered in that ranking because he hasn't been labeled as such. But I would say that he is. I look at people today, to me, who are more philosopher. I see Malcolm X as one, because he challenged our way of thinking. I would say that you see some even in hip hop today, KRS-One. Yeah. So I would consider them to be philosophers, even though they may not have taken on that title, even though KRS-One kind of said it in his music because he had a song, My Philosophy. And so those are the ones that I would say influence me more so today versus the ones in the past. But yeah, those are the ones that I would say really, because to me, it's, even though we always have to study our history and understand who came before us, it's even more so important, in my opinion, to really drill down what people are saying today, because this is what culture I live in today, and they help me understand and see things from a different perspective and open up my understanding.
Absolutely. Definitely. You're on the right track, because philosophy, as it's defined, is the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence.
Exactly.
So, that's broad enough that Soulrac is a philosopher, right?
Yeah, I would consider myself one. For sure.
There you go.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What are some of the other things that you're into or have interest in that are not necessarily music or philosophy?
Sure. What I want to do some community driven programs. I want to have some community events where we go to underserved communities, similar to what the Panthers did when they had the free breakfast program. Well, we give free food, but also we teach the youth or even adults, if they want to learn, digital literacy. That way they can know how to use AI to their benefit, because that's affecting a lot of jobs right now, whether people know it or not. In fact, Amazon let go about 30,000 or more people because they want to invest more into AI. So it's important that we understand the intricacies of it. The other thing I would love to do is teach on financial literacy, so we can learn how to get out of debt and stay out of debt and start our own businesses, or even invest into Black businesses or banking and things of that nature, so we can be empowered to do things rather than, because one of the reasons why we're unable to make some moves, because if you don't have the money to do certain things, you're going to be at the whims of somebody else. So the goal is to change the culture by providing programs and building an ecosystem where you can help people go from poverty to prosperity. And I have some programs I wrote up already, because I write curriculums. And so I wrote a curriculum up. It's just a matter of getting the funding and getting the people to support it so it can be implemented throughout the United States.
That's big. That's big. Well, I look forward to actually seeing that happen, because that definitely needs to take place, because we've had quite a few of those communities and those systems within the past where we would thrive in, like in Tulsa, like in Rosewood.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Speaking of Florida, right?
Yeah, exactly. You said it right. That's right. Yeah, and the thing that was different now versus then was that they didn't really, in which we don't have much of it today either, but we are in a position where we can somewhat protect our rights to a certain extent, where back then, like Tulsa, as we both know, Greenwood, because a boy was accused of whistling at a white girl, they were able to tear down and they, bomb a whole community. And people still haven't got any reparations or some type of residual income as a result of that. And we see the same thing happen in Rosewood as well. And so I know that now collectively we can be more positioned where we can restore to a certain extent some of those things we lost through education and collectively putting our monies together so we can create communities like those we saw before, like the Black Wall Street and other places.
Absolutely. It's Thermal Soundwaves. We hear C.Truth, Kev Lawrence talking to artist Soulrac here with us on the program. As an artist, and with AI being such a focused all throughout, all different types of things, these days, artistic wise, what are some of the things that, you are either concerned about when it comes to AI or maybe excited about when it comes to AI?
I think one of the things, I'll give you both. I'll give you what I'm excited about and what I'm concerned about. What I'm concerned about is the ability of AI being able to imitate artists' voices, and to a point where companies are investing in AI, where they can be able to produce AI artists, which can take away potential money that can fall down to authentic artists. But what I am excited about, because whenever there's a fake or whenever there's imitation, it does motivate people to be more authentic. To me, that means that authenticity will be needed more so as we move forward, because people got to have the ability to discern from what is real and what is not. And so the thing that AI will do, I believe, it will motivate more authenticity to come from artists. I think what has happened to hip hop as a whole is that we have gotten so used to chasing the bag and trying to duplicate sound that some people have fell through the crack, and we have lost to a certain degree authenticity. Now, the other good thing I would say about AI, it does provide people certain tools they can use for getting information, even where they would have to pay somebody thousands of dollars to find out about certain things. It can help people write contracts. So as with any technological advancement, they could be beneficial to us, but you have to have some checks and balances. And so without checks and balances, I believe that will be the problem that we have to consider as we dabble into AI. But from an artistic perspective, my biggest concern is the ability that AI has to mimic artists or to become an artist. And that's something we need to really regulate.
So let everybody know, what's next for Soulrac, and also, where they could, connect with you via social media, websites, or wherever else they can get in contact with you.
Well, first of all, I want to encourage your fans to continue to support what you're doing with Thermal Soundwave, because you're providing opportunities like artists for me to get heard, because we don't have opportunities to get on those big radio stations, even though you guys are part of the movement to change the culture. You're doing that. So I want to encourage your fan base to keep following you. That's number one.
Thanks.
As far as following me, I would say just go to my Bandcamp page, which is Soulrac Music. You'll be able to download the music. Just don't download it, buy it. We need money. I'm just going to be straight up. We as artists, we need money. We need you to buy music. We don't need you just streaming. Do both. We appreciate both. We want the streaming numbers to go up, but we want the money as well. You can find me on any social media with Soulrac Music. Follow me, DM me. If you want to get involved with the Power to the People movement, reach out to me so that way we can connect.
Absolutely, definitely. And what's the next step for you? What can we see next?
The next step is to drop an album. I got 2 albums I'm working on. One is to complete the Back to the Basics album, which is featuring Welcome to America, along with some other songs, which really focus on that vintage 90s hip hop, and then Soul Story, which is going to be album that's going to have like spoken word, neo soul, and it's definitely going to be a soulful experience for those who purchase the album when it drops.
Definitely. Well, listen, man, I want to thank you for taking some time out and joining us here on the program and letting people know about your story and some of the things that you're doing and got going on, which I think are very, very important, especially the initiative you got coming, with the education piece and the financial piece and all of that.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the movement too. That's the third leg, is that get the initiative started. So yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Well, listen, enjoy the rest of the evening. Have a great and safe one. And definitely we'll be connecting with you more in the future.
I look forward to it, and I appreciate what you're doing for the culture. Keep it on.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
All right.
It's Thermal Sound Waves, a natural alternative to fast food radio. We here, C.Truth, Kev Lawrence.
Thermal Sound Wave.